Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort. They dodge difficult conversations, run from challenges, and back away from anything that feels too heavy. They convince themselves that if something is hard, it must not be meant for them. But that's a lie. The truth is, everything that matters, everything that builds strength, everything that creates real success is from doing the hard things. Growth does not come from ease. It does not come from staying where it's comfortable. It comes from stepping into the struggle, from willingly embracing the things that scare you, from leaning into the discomfort instead of running from it. Hard things break people, but they also build them. The difference between the ones who grow and the ones who quit is a simple choice: to endure or to escape. The ones who grow are not the ones who have it easiest. They are not the ones who are naturally gifted or lucky. They are the ones who understand that pain is a teacher, that struggle is a tool, that challenges are not meant to be avoided but faced head on. The people who rise in life, the ones who build something meaningful, are the ones who step into resistance willingly. They are the ones who choose discipline over excuses, responsibility over comfort, and persistence over self-pity. You cannot become stronger without resistance. A muscle does not grow unless it is torn down first. The same is true for character. The same is true for resilience. The same is true for success. You want to be great at something, you have to be willing to be bad at it first. You want to build a business, you have to be willing to struggle, to fail, to doubt yourself along the way. You want to become the best version of yourself. You have to be willing to let go of the weaker version of you, the one who chooses comfort, who waits for things to get easier, who backs down when things get hard. Hard things don't just test you, they shape you. They refine you. They reveal who you are and what you are made of. When you face difficulty, you have two choices: to let it define you as someone who gives up, or to let it transform you into someone who overcomes. Most people choose the easy way out, not realizing that by avoiding the hard things, they are also avoiding their own potential. They are choosing to stay small, to stay weak, to stay exactly where they are instead of stepping into the person they were meant to become. There will always be reasons to avoid the struggle. There will always be moments when you tell yourself it's too hard, when you convince yourself that quitting is the best option. But the ones who succeed, the ones who build something that lasts, are the ones who push through anyway. They are the ones who understand that pain is temporary, but quitting is forever. They are the ones who know that the hardest moments are the ones that will define them, shape them, and lead them to something greater. The most powerful version of you is on the other side of the hard things. The strength you're looking for is in the struggle you are trying to avoid. The growth you need is in the work you don't want to do. Everything you want, everything you are capable of becoming is waiting for you, but only if you are willing to stop avoiding the challenge and start embracing it. Real leadership is not about power, status, or control. It is not about being the loudest voice in the room or the one who demands the most attention. Leadership is about influence. It is about the impact you leave on the people around you. And the greatest leaders, the ones who inspire, the ones who create real change, do not lead with their ego. They lead with their heart. Ego is about self-preservation. It is about needing to be right, needing to be admired, needing to be in control. It is fragile, easily threatened, and constantly searching for validation. Ego makes decisions based on how they will be perceived rather than what is actually best. It turns leadership into a competition instead of a responsibility. It pushes people away rather than bringing them together. And in the end, ego-driven leadership always collapses because it is built on fear, insecurity, and the need to prove something rather than the desire to serve. Leading with heart is different. Leading with heart is not about making yourself look good. It is about making others better. It is about lifting people up, giving them space to grow, and creating an environment where they feel seen, valued, and capable. It is about listening more than you speak, about understanding more than you dictate. It is about having the humility to admit when you are wrong, to own your mistakes, and to put the mission, the team, the vision ahead of your own pride. The strongest leaders are not the ones who pretend to have all the answers. They are the ones who are willing to be vulnerable, to acknowledge that they do not know everything, to ask for help when they need it. Because leadership is not about perfection, it is about authenticity. It is about showing up as a real person, not a manufactured image. People do not follow those who act superior. They follow those they trust, those who are willing to stand alongside them rather than above them. Ego is rigid, but heart is adaptable. Ego clings to the idea that there is only one way to succeed its way. It resists change, ignores feedback, and refuses to see things from a different perspective. But the world is always changing. The best leaders are the ones who can evolve, who can take criticism without feeling attacked, who can adjust their approach without feeling like they are losing control. They understand that leadership is not about them, it is about the people they serve. And true service requires a level of humility that ego cannot provide. Leading with heart does not mean being weak. It does not mean avoiding tough decisions or letting emotions dictate every move. It means leading with integrity, with compassion, with the understanding that leadership is not a privilege, it is a responsibility. It means making choices that align with values, even when those choices are difficult. It means having the courage to do what is right rather than what is easy. It means being strong enough to put the mission above personal recognition, to give credit instead of take it, to build something that lasts rather than something that simply feeds the ego. The leaders who make the biggest impact are not the ones who chase power for themselves. They are the ones who empower others. They are the ones who create more leaders, who inspire people to step into their own greatness, who lead with a sense of purpose rather than the need for validation. And that kind of leadership cannot come from ego. It can only come from the heart. Life does not wait for perfect conditions. It does not pause when you feel unmotivated, uncertain, or overwhelmed. It keeps moving with or without you. And that is why the people who succeed, the ones who build something meaningful, the ones who grow into their fullest potential, are not the ones who only show up when it is easy. They are the ones who show up no matter what. There will always be a reason to hold back. There will always be an excuse within reach, a justification for why today is not the day. Maybe you are tired. Maybe you do not feel ready. Maybe fear is whispering in your ear, convincing you that you are not good enough, that you are not capable, that you should wait until you are more prepared, more confident, more certain. But waiting does not build confidence. Avoidance does not create strength. The only way to grow is to show up, even when you do not feel like it, even when you do not know what the outcome will be, even when every part of you wants to turn away. Discipline is not about motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It comes in waves, unreliable and inconsistent. But discipline is a decision. It is a commitment to yourself, to your vision, to the life you are trying to build. And that commitment cannot be conditional. It cannot depend on how you feel in the moment. His feelings are unpredictable. They change with circumstances, with mood, with the tiniest inconveniences. If you only show up when you feel like it, you will never get anywhere. Growth happens in the moments when you push through, when you show up despite the resistance, when you refuse to let temporary feelings dictate long-term outcomes. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who had it easy. They are not the ones who woke up every day feeling inspired and full of energy. They are the ones who showed up anyway. They wrote the book even when they doubted themselves. They built the business even when they felt like an imposter. They went to the gym even when they were exhausted. They made the call, had the conversation, took the risk even when they were scared. They understood that consistency beats intensity every time. The greatest breakthroughs happen on the days when you almost didn't show up. The days when you wanted to quit, when you told yourself it was pointless, when the voice in your head tried to convince you to take the easy way out. Those are the days that separate the ones who make it from the ones who don't. Anyone can show up when things are exciting, when progress is visible, when everything feels like it's working. But true strength is built in the moments when you don't see the results yet, when the work feels thankless, when no one is cheering you on, when it feels like you are walking through the fire alone. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to have all the answers. You just need to keep showing up. Show up when you are tired. Show up when you're afraid. Show up when you feel like you are failing. Show up when no one is watching. Show up when it feels like it isn't making a difference. Because it is, because every time you show up, you are proving to yourself that you are not controlled by fear, that you are not held back by doubt, that you are not going to quit just because it is hard. And that is what separates those who succeed from those who wish they had. Courage isn't loud. It isn't flashy. It doesn't always come in the form of big dramatic moments where you stand on a stage or make some grand declaration. For most of the time, it's to get up and face the day when every part of you wants to turn away. It's the choice to have the hard conversation. Even when your voice shakes, it's the willingness to step into something unknown, even when you're scared out of your mind. But here's the thing about courage, it's uncomfortable. It requires us to lean into fear, into uncertainty, into the exact places we'd rather avoid. And that's why so many people choose comfort instead. Comfort is predictable. Comfort is safe. Comfort doesn't ask anything of you other than to stay right where you are. And at first, that feels good. There's no risk in comfort, no fear of failure, no possibility of rejection, but there's also no growth, no transformation, no real success. Because every single thing that makes life meaningful exists outside of your comfort zone. Think about the people you admire, the ones who have built something great, the ones who have impact, the ones who inspire you. I guarantee you every single one of them got there by choosing courage over comfort. Not once, but over and over again. Because courage isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. The problem is we've been conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs. The moment something feels hard, we assume it's a sign to stop. The second we feel fear, we pull back. But fear isn't a stop sign. It's a green light. It's proof that you're doing something that matters. Discomfort is the price of growth. You don't get stronger by lifting the same weight every day. You get stronger by pushing your limits, by stepping into resistance, by feeling the strain and doing it anyway. The same applies to life. You don't become successful by avoiding hard things. You become successful by walking straight into them, by saying yes before you feel ready, by making the call, sending the email, starting the business, asking for the opportunity, standing up for what you believe in. Even when it's terrifying, even when you don't know what's on the other side, most people won't do this. Most people will choose comfort. They will wait for the perfect time, not realizing that perfection is an illusion. They will settle for what's easy instead of reaching for what's possible. And then they will wonder why their life never changes. But the people who rise, the people who build extraordinary lives, they don't wait until they feel ready. They don't wait until the fear is gone. They move forward in spite of it. It's easy to look at people who have made it and assume they have something you don't. More confidence, more talent, more resources. But what if the only difference between them and you is that they were willing to be uncomfortable, that they felt the same fear you do, but they didn't let it stop them, that instead of running from the hard things, they ran straight toward them. The truth is, if you are chasing anything meaningful, you will feel fear. If you are stepping into the next level of your life, you will feel discomfort. That's not a sign to turn back. It's a sign that you are exactly where you need to be. Your life is not an accident. The place you are in right now, the challenges you are facing, the circumstances that have shaped you, they all make up the story that is uniquely yours. But here's the thing about your story. You either own it or it owns you. Too many people go through life as if they are simply reacting to what happens to them, as if they have no control over the direction of their own journey. They blame their past, their environment, their mistakes, or the people around them for why they are stuck. And while all of those things may have played a role in shaping their experiences, they do not have to dictate their future. Owning your story means taking responsibility for where you are and deciding where you want to go next. It means acknowledging the setbacks, the failures, and the missteps without letting them define you. It means looking at the things that have hurt you, the people who have disappointed you, and the moments where you have fallen short. And instead of using them as an excuse to stay small, using them as fuel to rise. Most people are afraid to do this because taking ownership of your story requires an uncomfortable level of honesty. It means admitting where you have held yourself back, where you have let fear control your choices, where you have ignored your potential in favor of what feels safe. It means recognizing that while life is unpredictable and unfair at times, the way you respond to it is entirely up to you. That realization is both terrifying and liberating. Because if you are the one responsible for your life, then you are also the one who has the power to change it. It is easier to play the victim. It is easier to say, this is just the way things are. It is easier to let the past dictate the future. But there is nothing powerful about that. There is nothing freeing about staying stuck in a narrative that no longer serves you. The truth is, every person you admire, every person who has built something meaningful, every person who has overcome adversity, they have all had a moment where they decided to stop being a passenger in their own life and take the wheel. They have all had a moment where they realize that the past is only as powerful as they allow it to be. Your past may explain you, but it does not define you. The mistakes you have made, the losses you have suffered, the pain you have endured, those things are a part of your story, but they are not the whole story. You are not your failures. You are not your worst day. You are not the person you were when you didn't know any better. You are the person who gets to decide what happens next. You are the person who has the ability to take everything you have been through and use it as a foundation to build something stronger. Owning your story means rewriting the parts that no longer align with who you want to become. It means breaking the patterns that have kept you in the same cycles. It means no longer waiting for someone else to come and fix things for you. No one is coming to hand you the life you want. No one is coming to do the work for you. If you want change, you have to create it. If you want growth, you have to step into it. If you want to transform your life, you have to take full ownership of the person you are becoming. Integrity is not just a word. It is the foundation upon which everything meaningful is built. It is not something you show only when people are watching or when it is convenient. It is who you are when no one is around. It is the choices you make when there is no immediate reward. It is the discipline to hold yourself to a higher standard, even when cutting corners would be easier. And in a world where shortcuts, dishonesty, and self-preservation often seem like the fastest way forward, integrity is what separates those who build something real from those who simply get by. People talk about success as if it is measured by numbers, wealth, or status, but none of those things matter if they are not built on a foundation of truth. Because the truth always comes out. You cannot fake integrity. You cannot pretend to be someone you are not and expect to sustain it over time. Sooner or later, the real you will be revealed in the way you show up, in the way you treat others, and in the way you handle the small, unseen moments that no one else pays attention to. The problem is that too many people only do the right thing when they think someone is watching. They perform integrity like it is a show instead of embodying it as a way of life. But real integrity is not about impressing people. It is about knowing that you can look in the mirror at the end of the day and respect the person looking back at you. Integrity is keeping your word, even when it is inconvenient. It is following through on your commitments, even when no one would blame you for backing out. It is about making decisions based on what is right, not based on what is easy. Because every time you choose the easier wrong over the harder right, you weaken the foundation of who you are. It does not always feel like it in the moment. It might seem like a small thing to tell a white lie, to make an excuse, to take the shortcut, instead of putting in the work. But those small choices add up. And before you know it, you become someone who bends the truth a little too often, who justifies small compromises, who allows themselves to slip further and further away from the kind of person they once aspired to be. The strongest people in this world are not the loudest. They are not the ones constantly seeking attention. They are the ones whose actions match their words, whose values do not shift based on circumstances, who do what is right even when no one is there to give them credit. And those are the people others trust. Those are the people others want to follow, work with, and build something alongside. Because in the end, integrity is not just about your own sense of self-respect. It is also about the relationships you create. It is about trust. And trust is everything. The most successful people, the ones who build lasting businesses, strong relationships, and meaningful legacies, are the ones who understand that trust is the most valuable currency in the world. You can lose money and earn it back. You can fail and try again. But once you lose trust, once you damage your reputation, it is nearly impossible to repair. And trust is built through integrity. Not through big dramatic moments, but through the small, consistent choices that show people who you really are. There will always be easier paths. There will always be temptations to take shortcuts. There will always be opportunities to compromise your values in exchange for short-term gains. But integrity means choosing the harder path because you know it is the right one. It means understanding that your character is not determined by what you do when things are going well, but by how you handle yourself when no one is holding you accountable. And at the end of the day, the one person you can never escape is yourself. The one person you have to live with forever is you. And the real question is not just what kind of life you are building, but what kind of person you are becoming along the way.